Okay, let's dive right in. I mean, if you feel like your energy is constantly being drained by things.
By everything around you.
Yeah, exactly. The traffic, the news, that argument you had yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, you're experiencing the core problem of modern life, which is just stress.
Right.
And today we are digging into the really, I'd say, revolutionary work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. Because he argues that we don't have to just, manage stress. We can actually rewire our own neurobiology to move right past it.
And that's really the mission today. We're skipping the philosophy and going straight into the hard science. Dispenza's whole focus is on giving people measurable tools.
So it's not just knowing what to change, but how.
Exactly, the biological how. And the urgency here is real, especially in the West, where we've sort of normalized being in this chronic state of stress.
The numbers are.
Yeah.
They're frankly staggering. You should note that in the Western world, statistics show somewhere between, 75 and 90%?
That's right.
Of people who walk into a healthcare facility are there because of symptoms that are rooted in emotional or psychological stress.
We are literally creating physical disease from our internal emotional states. And this is where we can start to understand the biological trap.
A trap.
Yeah, the body gets used to the chemistry of survival. We see evidence that people can actually become chemically addicted to the rush of stress hormones.
You mean like cortisol and adrenaline?
Cortisol, adrenaline, the things that fire off during chaos or conflict.
Wait, you can be addicted to feeling miserable. I get liking coffee, but liking conflict.
Biologically, yes. Once your body is conditioned to that internal state, that chemical cocktail, it starts to interpret that feeling as normal.
So it wants to stay there.
It needs to stay there.
Yeah.
And to maintain that normalcy, it will actively seek out the external situations that produce those chemicals.
So doom scrolling or that flash of road rage.
Exactly. Or even seeking out drama in relationships. Your body is basically signaling to your mind, hey, go find a reason to give me my fix.
That reframes so many common behaviors. It's not a personality flaw. It's a biological craving.
It's a profound survival mechanism that's just gone haywire. No organism can live in a prolonged emergency mode without paying a huge price.
And that price is disease.
It becomes the inevitable consequence. You suppress growth and repair, and you just wear the system down.
This connects directly to how we tie our identity to our past, right? To our traumas and our painful stories.
Absolutely. That identity is maintained through a powerful biological loop. So when you experience a high emotional response to an event.
Like a trauma or a bad diagnosis.
A trauma, a loss, yeah. The brain takes an emotional snapshot. That feeling cements the event into a long-term memory.
Okay, that makes sense.
But here's the problem. Every single time you remember that painful event, you produce the exact same chemistry in your brain and body as if it were happening all over again right now.
So just telling the story makes your body physically relive the entire original trauma.
That's it. Your body speaks the language of feelings. It doesn't analyze, it just reacts. So by constantly reliving it, the body becomes conditioned subconsciously to that emotion.
The body becomes the mind of that emotion.
Yes. And you might be reliving that past event, maybe 50 to 100 times in a single day. And here's the key thing to remember. The body does not know the difference between an emotion from a real experience and one you just fabricated with a thought.
Which is why just thinking your way out of it doesn't work. You're just generating more of the same chemistry.
Precisely. And get this, there's a finding that just underscores this whole trap. Research indicates that up to 50%. 50% of the past story people tell about themselves isn't even completely accurate.
Wow.
Which suggests people are clinging to a miserable life they may not have even had just to excuse themselves from the hard work of change.
So analyzing our problems while we're feeling the emotions of those problems just makes it worse.
It drives the brain further out of balance. You can't create a new future while you're standing in the emotions of your past. You have to get beyond the feeling.
Okay, so if the science says that by mid-age, 95% of who we are is just a set of subconscious, hardwired programs, how do we break free? What's the formula?
The process starts with a deliberate trade.
Wow.
You have to move beyond that old familiar emotion by intentionally trading it for an elevated one.
So instead of frustration or bitterness,
You practice feeling gratitude, appreciation, love, kindness, care. Dispenza defines real change as being greater than the conditions in your environment, greater than your body, and greater than time.
that's a dense definition. Let's break that down. What does greater than your environment mean?
It means you sit down to meditate, and even though you know you've got bills to pay or a difficult boss, you don't let those external things dictate your internal feeling.
And greater than your body.
That's ignoring the aches, the urge to check your phone, the thirst, all the things your conditioned body is screaming at you to do.
Okay, and greater than time.
It means you stop living in the predictable future or the familiar past. You exist only in the present moment.
That really shifts the whole power dynamic. So how does just generating a feeling like gratitude physically change the body? Is this the heart-brain connection?
Yes, and this is where you see an immediate, measurable biological shift. When you're stuck in those survival emotions like anxiety or impatience, your heart beats incoherently.
Incoherently.
It looks jagged on a monitor, scattered, uneven. It's sending chaotic signals to the brain.
And when you practice those elevated emotions,
The moment you generate feelings of love or gratitude, your heart instantly adopts a coherent rhythmic cadence. It looks like a smooth, beautiful wave.
and that signal goes to the brain.
Immediately, that coherent heart signal tells the brain the emergency is over, the threat is gone. It resets the brain's baseline.
So it's basically your heart telling your brain, stand down, the trauma is over.
Exactly. And once that emotional charge is gone from the memory, what's left is just the event. And memory without the emotional charge. We call that wisdom.
That's powerful. But what about forgiveness? A lot of people feel like their grievance is justified. How does forgiveness fit into this biological model?
In this context, forgiveness is simply the act of overcoming the emotion. It's not about condoning what someone did. It's a strategy for your own liberation.
So by overcoming that emotion,
You take your attention off that person or problem, and where you place your attention is where you place your energy.
so releasing the grudge is really just calling back your own personal energy that you were using to rehearse that injustice over and over.
Precisely. That energy is now free for you to use for your own healing, for creation. And what's more, when you get into that open-hearted state, your body releases chemicals like oxytocin and nitric oxide.
Yeah.
And when those chemicals are flowing, it is biologically very difficult to hold a grudge.
So forgiveness is really an act of biological efficiency.
You could say that.
Okay, let's talk about the practical tool here then. Meditation. We have to get out of that high-stress state to do any of this reprogramming.
Right. Constantly living in stress keeps us locked in high beta brainwaves. That's the state of alertness, narrow focus, worry. It's survival mode.
And you can't create from survival mode.
Not effectively. Meditation is the discipline of consciously slowing your brainwaves down.
Into alpha and theta.
Correct. You move into alpha, which is a more creative state. And then ideally, you drop into theta. That's that hypnotic twilight state right before you fall asleep.
And why is theta so important for this process?
Because in theta, the door between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind just swings wide open. This is the window where you can bypass your analytical mind and actually rewrite the old programs.
You're getting at the source code.
You are operating on the system's core programming.
But anyone who has tried to meditate knows this is where the fight begins. The moment your eyes are closed, your mind is just screaming a to-do list at you. Why is being present so hard?
Because your survival programming tells you the unknown is dangerous. And the present moment is the ultimate unknown. Your brain's default mode network, the DMN, the default mode network. It's basically your brain's prediction machine. It goes into overdrive trying to predict the future based on the past. It throws thoughts at you about your body, your schedule, your problems.
So it's fighting to keep you in the familiar, even if the familiar is miserable.
It's trying to keep you safe and predictable. But the practice isn't about forcing your mind to be silent. That's impossible. The victory is every single time you notice your mind has wandered.
And you just bring it back.
And you consciously bring your attention back to the present moment. That is the success. That action is what regulates your autonomic nervous system.
And that leads to the next stage, right?
Yeah.
Accessing what's often called the quantum field.
Yes. The path to that field, to that realm of pure potential, is by becoming, intentionally, nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and in no time.
What does that mean, practically?
You have to take all your attention off your body, off your environment, the people, places, things, and off of linear time, the past and future.
If you take all of that away, all those identity markers, what's left?
Pure consciousness. You move from the world of matter to the realm of energy. You become pure potential. And from that place of wholeness, that's where you create, not from a place of lack or need.
Okay, let's pivot back to the empirical evidence, because this is where the theory becomes proof. When people do this work, the healing is measurable. What kind of physical outcomes have been recorded?
The data is. It's incredibly compelling. For instance, in studies where people practiced these elevated emotions for just a few days, their IgA levels.
That's immunoglobulin A.
Yes. It's your body's first line of defense, like your own internal flu shot. Those levels went up by 50%.
50% in 3 days.
In just 3 days. Your elevated emotions are literally signaling your genes to turn on your internal defense systems.
You're turning on your own internal pharmacy.
Absolutely. And it gets even more specific. In blood studies of advanced meditators, researchers found genetic information that actively inhibits the COVID virus from entering cells, and information that shuts off mitochondrial and glycolytic function in cancer cells. 84% of the meditators who had a transcendental moment showed this data in their blood.
Those results are, well, they're better than many pharmaceuticals. How does the overall effectiveness of these methods compare to, say, a standard drug trial?
Dispenza's data, depending on what they're measuring, shows effectiveness rates of 75 to 100%.
100%.
In some cases, yes. Compare that to a typical drug trial, which might be around 25% effective, especially after you account for placebo.
Okay, a number that high 75 to 100% naturally brings up some skepticism. How does the research account for things like confirmation bias or just a powerful placebo effect?
That's a crucial question, and the reason the data is so powerful is that it's based on hard biomarkers, not just people saying they feel better. We're talking gene expression, immunoglobulin levels, heart rate variability.
Things you can't fake.
You can't consciously manipulate your IgA levels just by wanting it to happen. The objective biological shifts confirm that the internal practice is driving real systemic change.
That grounding in hard science is what makes this so revolutionary. I also love the why wait idea in this work. We don't have to wait for a crisis to decide to change.
No, we can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration, not just pain and suffering.
We can do it now.
And that choice is everything. The decision to change has to have an emotional amplitude and energy so powerful that becomes a long-term memory. You have to emotionally rehearse your future before it happens.
Feeling abundant before the wealth shows up.
Feeling whole before the healing is complete. That feeling isn't a wish. It's the magnetic charge that draws that new reality to you.
This has been just a phenomenal deep dive. The core truth here is that the tools for profound change, for breaking free from the past and literally rewiring our biology, they're entirely within us. The ability to regulate our own nervous system and change our health outcomes isn't just a nice philosophy. It's a measurable science.
And that really leaves us with one powerful, provocative thought for you to explore. If you look at this data, the immune response, the effects on disease at a cellular level, the high efficacy rates, is it possible that the human nervous system, your own autonomic nervous system, can manufacture a pharmacy of chemicals that works better than any drug? We believe the data clearly suggests the answer is absolutely yes.